everyone. Welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading with Leah and Jerrica.
How are you today?
I'm great. It was my birthday yesterday.
It's exciting.
I know. We went to dinner. We didn't have the kids for most of the day. It was a treat.
That's always a treat. You did write to me that your husband got dressed without fussing too, so that's
he did.
Always
He
a
really
treat.
did.
Yes.
He got his own shoes on. I didn't need to tie the laces.
Oh, the best. The best. And it's cold outside today.
It's freezing, and what would you rather be doing then?
Well, I would rather be reading because I am honestly on the last hour of the third book of the Victoria Aveyard series, The Red Queen, can't remember the name of the second one. I'm on King's Cage right now.
Okay.
And I have about an hour left and they're right in the middle of a battle. So it's a little bit intense. And honestly, a little bit hard to follow. But I think it's because I'm not super...
You're listening
focused.
to it, right?
Yes. And I keep, doing other stuff. And then I zone back in and I'm like, oh shit, what's happening? Is someone dead? Did I miss something?
I like battle scenes a lot, though. And I find, different authors choose to have different perspectives of what to do in battle. I find that's really interesting, actually.
We should do a whole thing about it. And also, I had an idea that we should definitely start collecting different section scenes. Because I'm also reading the Julie Kagwa, the Iron Queen.
Is there section scenes in that book? I thought it was for kids.
No, but there's not. That's the whole point. And
Okay.
honestly, I had to highlight it because it was fascinating. And I told my husband that this is the only way we're going to talk about section at home from now on. Because it is her red aura of desire flares and reaches towards him, and then they dance and tangle, merge into one, and then it's fade to black and morning after. I'm like,
whoa,
this is amazing.
That's what I'm going to tell my kids that sex is. They're going to be like, Mom and Dad, I hear this thing at school all the time. It's called sex. And I was like, oh, but it's actually auras merging together.
Yes.
You do a little bit of a dance and everything goes black.
Yeah. We learned this from a book, so it's got to be true.
It's definitely true.
Gotta be
It's
true.
from a YA book. It said it was able for you to read.
Yeah. So, we should definitely talk more about how different authors bring up the whole section scene thing, because it is fascinating, honestly, how much you describe and how much you don't, and where you fade to black and where you don't.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So we'll pay attention to this. No section scene so far in the book this week, the Bring Me Their Hearts.
No.
There's been a kiss.
But it took a long time.
It took a whole book. But there was one kiss. What was it, two? One. I think it's one kiss because...
Like a stolen one, right?
Yeah, it was a kiss. There was one kiss. And it's come to the time where we're going to see how our predictions were, which I think they were pretty far off, honestly. I don't think we weren't good at
No, we weren't. We did not nail this one.
No, not even close, I believe.
Oh, but we were right in that we thought she would not succeed because she would fall for him.
Yeah.
And that he was deeper to a certain level. And that deepness continues.
Yeah. But apart from that, we were really, really not quite on point here. I mean, she doesn't get ordered, which is something that she talked about in the beginning, how the witch can order them to do stuff. And honestly, I was a little bit disappointed here also with the lack of witch animals in this book. They really only show up in the beginning, and then there's no more witch animals.
And her witch actually is not so seen.
No.
I thought she was going to be coming in, do a twist. She's evil. She takes everybody's hearts. I don't know, but she's sort of doing her own stuff on the side.
Yeah, she's really not a part of this book at all. She seems her only real part is healing Sarah whenever she gets injured, because that's the witch's magic that heals her.
Yeah.
And well, let's face it, she does get injured an awful freaking lot.
Yeah, she dies a lot.
She does a lot, and she gets hurt a lot, and she battles people and stuff. So yeah, that's the only thing we really see about the witch here in this book, at least.
Right.
So maybe she'll come back in the next book. We don't know yet. But for this book, she's not around, and she also doesn't, spoiler here, she doesn't get her heart back.
No.
She doesn't even take anyone else's heart as far as...
No.
No hearts. No hearts switch bodies or owners at all in this book.
No, it's just a lot of plotting and failing and plotting and failing.
Yeah, and she literally fails in her mission here to bring the prince's heart to her witch. She doesn't do it. Spoiler.
Spoiler, she doesn't do it.
She doesn't do it. It's a failure all around, really. But I think she does kind of fall in love. He seems to be falling for her.
I'm not sure why.
No, it's quite.
I have a little bit of a. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm listening to it, and Leah was reading it. But are you listening to it now?
No, I read the whole first book.
You read the whole first book, okay?
Yes.
So I'm listening to it, and she's reading it, and that's a whole different world because who I'm listening to, like the girl who's the narrator of this book, she sounds like my Siri. So sometimes, I like, what? What did you ask me?
No, I don't want to turn on music. Or call my mom. Stop, I'm bored. No, I always want to speak to my mom, of course.
But no, I got distracted by the fact that the narrator sounded like Siri when she was in narrator voice. Of course, then when she went into character voice, it was much better. Mm-hmm. But I like had a hard time connecting to her because she just sounded like my robot.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like the love from the narrator actually for this book. It was more like she was just reading it instead of like living in it. You know, there's some narrators that are like acting in the book, you know? Mm-hmm. They're really like being the characters. This one, she was not being the character. She was reading the book.
Okay. Well, I read it, so I can't speak to this at all. And the romance, it does work, I think, in a better than, I guess, while reading it. Because I do understand why he likes her, but it seems to be mostly because she keeps telling him that she only wants his heart. And he's all like, what? She's not throwing herself at me? I don't understand this. All the girls always want me, but this one, she just wants my heart. And she keeps telling me, but she's not really showing it because she's... And I think this comes through quite a lot in this book. She likes him, but she knows that she's there on a mission. And really, she wants her heart back. And this is like her main driving force. But... It turns out throughout the book that she's also quite caring and considerate. Like, she sees herself as a monster, but she's really not. Because she does like to help people, and she throws herself in front of people, and she wants to protect and help and shield people. And I think this is why she's probably a terrible choice for trying to get to steal someone else's heart, because I don't think she will... It feels like she will fight against this at all. Especially this boy, because she loves him. Yeah, and then... It's the whole... I mean, it's funny. I like this book. It's actually quite funny because it's the whole... She has all these things she needs to do. Like, she needs to eat raw meat. And we talked about that a little bit in the last podcast. And there's no rats being captured or killed in this book. No, she gets served raw livers, which is yuck. I mean, yeah, the French. It's better than... It's better than rats.
It's much better than rats. And humans.
And humans, yes. And then when she eats, she will cry tears of blood because if she eats regular food, she will cry tears of blood just to kind of, I don't know, it's not quite clear why. I guess her body cannot.
Her body's rejecting it. It's like throwing up through your eyes with blood.
Yeah, but this I find this tickled my continuity part of my brain.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, because mostly it's... The crying of the blood is a big deal in this book as concerned to, they call it weeping. And it's something that a heartless can do if they have been cut by a white mercury weapon or gotten stabbed, have white mercury in them for some reason. Yeah. They can then do this weeping, which is where they resist a command of their witch. But it seems in this book, it's also used as resisting their own hunger and their own monster, because at the end, and this is like the massive spoiler, when she kills all of those people, she doesn't take the prince's heart, and she weeps instead to stop herself from doing it. But she was never commanded to take it, so technically she shouldn't really have to do the weeping.
She wasn't commanded to...
She wasn't commanded to take his heart. She was asked to do it, which is something that she can resist, but no one commanded her to take the heart. So it's kind of unclear for me why she would need to do the weeping, unless it's just her monster takes over. The monster, we'll talk more about the monster too, the hunger, because it's also a little bit inconsistent from time to time. Is it her? Is it another person?
I have so much
Is it
to
her
say
witch?
about this
Is
hunger.
what is it? It's quite unclear. But and the weeping, and then also there was a continuity thing where she could only do the weeping after she does sparring with Lucian, and he cuts her with his white mercury sword. But earlier on in the book, in the first chapter, she meets this Cilion who kills her, and then he doesn't kill her, but he stabs her, and it takes her longer to heal because he has a white mercury blade.
Yeah.
So she's already been stabbed by this. So him cutting her should not have been the breaking point for her being allowed to weep. That should have happened already because she's already been stabbed by a white mercury dagger or whatever blade. So, continuity things.
Continuity
and also at the end,
with Leah.
I have another continuity issue where... No, this is actually not in this one. So, okay.
So I will do a little super summary for those who haven't been reading along with us. We are talking about the first book of Bring Me Their Hearts by Sara Wolf. So this book is about a heartless girl who fails her mission to get the prince's heart because she falls for him, even though he's pretty unbearable and she's relentlessly sarcastic with him, yet somehow still romantic tension builds, and an evil witch comes into the picture last minute. Twist, evil witch is his not dead sister. Bum, bum, bum. Although, okay, so now let's go to the end scene, because there was a ton of build up throughout the book. We messaged each other a few times like, oh, this is dragging a little, a little bit bored. Oh, wait, no, now there's like sparring. Now this is interesting. Now it's a little boring. Oh, wait, there's a kiss. Now it's boring. Oh, wait, there's a huge fucking battle where she eats like a whole bunch of people or kills them. I don't know. A part of me thinks that she's like going in with her mouth at some part.
Well, I mean, she does say that she grows these very sharp pointed teeth. And then her bones get elongated and stuff too. But I kind of see her like a monstrous creature where her hands go away and they become like the point, and she.
Cool!
Like in my head,
she for sure transforms a little bit. She has a couple eyes, 6 eyes. She has multiple eyes when she turns into the heartless version of herself,
and sharp teeth
and claws. Yeah. As far as I can remember.
And her bones and legs and limbs are elongated. That's
she grows taller, much taller. So end scene there, they have gone into a hunt or out to the hunt, and they're in a forest or a field. And she's about to take Lucian's heart. Then some people come up, some guards, Archduke, and some
his men.
Guards. And she realizes that he's sort of like, he has more information than she knows. He's like some double spy guy working for a different witch. So she kills them all, him and all his guards. She turns super crazy, heartless version of herself. Yeah. And she turns to Lucian, but like you said, she has to weep so she doesn't take his heart. And then, dum-dum, behind a tree pops out, oh, there's my sister.
The one that's dead. The one that the reason for the freaking hunt. They keep going to this place to look for her because she's been missing for 5 years.
Yeah, her name is Varia.
And she's 21, which means that she's been gone since she was 16.
Yeah.
And
she's been learning her magic.
Honestly, I think this is a little bit of a YA issue here, that they all have to be so young, because they're she is so formidable, she's such a great princess, she was so awesome with the people she was looking out for. And I'm like, she's 16. Like, I know 16-year-olds. Yeah. Some of them, I'm sure, are great. And, Greta Thunberg and Malala. There's some that are, like, really out there. But the majority are very self-obsessed at 16. And you're very young to have had time to do all of these things. It's more that.
I know, but you can't hate on the age of YA. That's what makes it YA. They have to be under 17.
But I do hate on the age of YA.
Then we have to stop reading YA. Then we have to just read NA.
All right. Okay, fine.
But that I hate on the age of YA when there's section scenes that pop up. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't want to listen to 16-year-olds have sex. But it's like really true. Yeah. Like let's skip forward into like 19, 21, because it feels like then I'm robbing the cradle by like envisioning them, I'm too old.
But it really worked in the J. Kristoff the Nevernight.
It worked for them like to be
delightful smut. He talks a lot about it, the smut.
Alrighty.
Yeah. But it works in those ones. But you also forget how young she is. You forget that a lot because just of how much gets packed into those books, like how much happens. And this is another thing that I had issue with this book, the Bring Me Their Hearts, is that the whole first book takes place during like a 2-week period. And
I'm not sure why they brought timeline into the story, because we didn't need to know how long it's been. We can just use our imagination for that. But when they say that it's only been a certain amount of days, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, like this feels like every day is a lifetime here. Like every day is a month.
It took me just as long to read the book
Oh my God, yes.
than what happened during the book.
We read in real time.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, so much happens in this book. I mean, it's, like you said, it's a little bit dull from time to time, but I think it's
character building, I
guess.
It's
character building, and it's her having to learn, and she builds relationships with the people around her. Like she has this older woman, Jerrica, who teaches her and trains her, and this I really like their scenes, and I really like their
relationship
and how it builds. And then with the friends, with Lucy and the Prince, with his bodyguard Malachite, and with Fionn, who's one of the ladies, the Archduke's niece, I believe she is. And these four, and not the Ishenria, not the older lady, but the other ones, they become like a little team of, helpers they go and help like this underground market, and they fight stuff and and the king, the prince is Whisper. He's in the first.
Exactly, but we knew that we knew that
he dresses up in like a Robin Hood type thing, which is another thing that I have issues with. Just to pile on the issues here, but it was mostly that if you're the crown prince and you're actually that close to power, is it really the best use of your power to dress up as a superhero, Robin Hood types? Person and steal from your rich people and give to your poor people? Wouldn't it be better to use your power and influence to, I don't know, speak to your dad and say, hey, look, the poor people in our town are starving?
But his dad didn't respect him. He still doesn't respect him. He's not going to listen to his voice. His dad respected Varya, and now he's just like a grumpy old man because Varya has been quote unquote dead for the last 5 years. So he's not going to be like, oh yeah, okay, sure, I'm going to listen to my puny little son here and all of the political influences he thinks he can have. No, he's going to go be Robin Hood because Robin Hood is badass. I am against you on this. I love Robin Hood.
You love Whisper?
I love Whisper.
And, but I think the timeline, honestly, the fact that it's 2 weeks, it makes the romance a little bit harder to get, because I feel like if their relationship could have been building over a month and a half, or even 2 months, it would have been more believable that he would be, because going forward in the story, like he is doing things, like he cuts off his hair, he does all these big declarations because he has found love, and it's like, I met her 2 weeks ago and I've spoken to her a whole of 5 times, you know, and we've never really been alone together. They should have just dropped the timeline. Don't say that it's been 2 weeks. Yeah,
just
but I think that
leave it out and have us use our imagination for how long it's been.
But it could be that it's a ticking time bomb kind of thing, like it's the ticking clock, it needs to happen fast, and I think that's kind of why they have the timeline. But I feel like it could have been longer without it
affecting the story.
It could have been a month or 2 months, and that would have been just fine anyways, because it's also a little bit like the tradition of our courts is to bring in the spring brides, and then the crown prince has 2 weeks to choose his wife for the rest of all eternity. You know, like it's really 2 weeks, like they can't give him 2 months of getting to know these people.
But there was a mention in there that this was his second time.
Third time,
okay.
But still,
that's probably why the time is dwindling each time. Like, this guy can't make up his mind.
No,
2 weeks.
No, what they said was that if he doesn't choose someone, that his daddy will go and choose for him.
And his dad was not going to choose Ishenria's niece.
No, he was probably going to choose Fionn, in all honesty.
Yeah.
The Archduke's niece. Like,
and that wasn't going to work because of what we know what happens in book 2.
Yeah, exactly. But all in all, I did the first book. I talked a lot about my issues, but I did like. I do like I mean, I look forward to the kissing. I do.
Yeah.
And I think there should be more.
I like the haircut too.
And the haircut.
Yeah.
And I like Malachite. Like, I really like Malachite.
We both like
is
Malachite.
Funny.
I know. So we had wished for some sort of, I mean, I always wish for a love triangle. I don't know why. And it's just going to be coming up every episode. So just deal with it. Jerrica wants a love triangle.
Yeah.
Okay. But I wanted a love triangle. It didn't happen. I thought maybe Malachite was going to get in there and then she was going to fall for him. And I talk a little bit to you about how much I hate self-deprecation in women. And I thought that she was coming out of this, Sara, the main character. Like, she was hilarious and sarcastic and making up her own mind. And she's like, knows what she's really there for. She wasn't really losing herself in the boys and the toys and the dresses and stuff. She was pretty focused. But then a little later on, when she starts to have feelings, she gets a little self-deprecating. Like, oh, he's not going to want me anyways. Oh, I'm not a part of this, like, royal...
But she gets... and I hear you. And I think this... We started reading book 2. We're going to talk about book 2 in just a second. But I think it comes across a lot more in book 2 where she's starting... It's kind of like her... She's like, I am a heartless. Yeah. I am a monster. I am not worthy. And it gets... repetitive because she says it so much, and then we come into my other pet peeve here, apart from continuity, where it's like where our main person looks at everyone around her and makes decisions based on, I think that this is bad for you, so I'm going to choose this. I won't even give you the option. And they do that a lot in these books. I mean, I guess it's to bring the story forward, because if you allowed everyone to choose for themselves, then we wouldn't have these stories. Then everyone would be like, I choose you.
I know. I also yell at books often to be like, talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Say what you want to say. Stop keeping it in your head. So there was no love triangle in this book. No. She does fall for the prince, which we knew was coming. And it ends with us finding out that his sister isn't dead, and she's a witch.
Yeah, exactly. Which has been hinted at. And with that, we're going to move on to book 2, which is Find Me Their Bones, also, of course, by Sara Wolf.
Yeah.
It would be weird if they would have been by another author.
I'm going to pass this book on to you.
I wrote the first one. You wrote the second.
Oh, nice.
Tag team. And to start off, obviously, we're going to look at the cover and try to guess.
Oh, yay!
what this book's going to be about. And Jerrica, of course, you listened to it, so you got the
I got the old school. I keep calling it the old school medieval, like, children's version. Although I would not recommend this to children, this book. This is a YA book for sure, hands down. And we're in our 30s and still enjoy it. So this is for all ages over 15, I would say.
Yeah.
But the cover of my audiobook made it seem like it was something my kids, who are 2 and 4, would be able to read, about a woman who's but she looks like she's a princess knight.
Yep, she does. And there's a scaly tail here with spikes on it.
Yeah, that's a dragon. She's a princess knight and she's going to slay a dragon.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Whereas I continued on with reading, at least for the first bit of this book, and found all the awesomest cover, because I do like these the best, where it is a dragon-style monster who has his mouth open, like all of the way open, with sharp teeth. And they're in a cave.
Look, eyes, multiple eyes.
And multiple eyes. I didn't even see that until you just pointed that out. And she's there with a lantern, I think.
Lantern.
Yeah, she's got a lantern.
And a sword in her other hand.
And they're in some kind of cave underground.
More modern, for sure, than the audiobook cover. And definitely more adult-y than the audiobook cover.
Mm-hmm. And then it's the third cover, which neither one of us had, which is kind of like a mix between our two covers,
for sure,
because it's the same, it's the girl with the lantern and the sword, but it's just got the tail of the dragon, and she's in a cave.
And she has the lantern in this one.
There's a skull here.
She is wearing similar clothing to
the audiobook.
The audiobook
cover, yeah.
But in this one, in the book version, she looks more mature.
Mm-hmm.
She looks like, and also has the face more of a woman than of a child. And in the audiobook one, she looks much younger, much more like a child. Is there another one? Is there a fourth?
No, I could only find these 3 for this one.
Okay.
So based on this, I'm assuming there's going to be a dragon in this book.
Yeah.
All of the covers are hinting at a dragon and caves.
Yeah, they're going to be in caves with dragons and swords, and she's going to be a princess knight.
Yeah, okay. So we're all good. So clearly, Lucy and the prince and all of that, they go away in this book because they're not on the cover.
This is only about her and the dragon.
She slayed everyone. The Varya showed up, and now she goes in the cave with a dragon. Okay, good.
Solved.
This is our prediction. But we did read also the first few chapters, and this is my prediction as I wrote it down.
So what happens in the first few chapters? What happens before we play our predictions out?
Yeah, well, Varya's back.
Varya's
so
back.
it basically picks up right at where the first book ends.
I loved it.
Literally.
I loved that. I finished it and I went to the next one. I'm like, they're there. They're still there. I love that.
So Lucien he's a bit shocked and appalled there. He's quite he's quite shocked here at Zara's.
He's shell shocked. He's just standing there like my sister.
And also his sister's there, and the girl he thought he loved, he just killed 9 people.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a little bit traumatized.
Yeah.
Just a smidge. And she is. I mean, she wants him to not see her as a monster, which it's kind of hard when she's just been a monster. But so she's crying real tears, maybe?
I think so, but she basically gives up in that moment. She's like, oh, this romance is going to be over now. Now he's really, truly going to hate me, and everyone's going to hate me, and here comes the self-deprecating. Everyone hates me, I'm a monster. Yeah. I hated that part. But anyways, Varya is a witch. She's back in everybody's life. Even she comes back and tells her dad, like, hey, I'm here.
And also in the first chapter, what happens is Varya goes up to Sara and she goes, you're heartless. What's the name of your witch? And Sarah's like, oh, it's Night Singer. And then she finds out a little bit later when she wakes up back in the palace that shouldn't have said that, because it turns out letting another witch know your witch's names allows them to steal you from your witch. So she's now heartless of the Princess Varya. So she's in her apartments and she's healing much faster. Things are moving much quicker here. which they.
But where is her heart in this now? Now it magically went to Varya, or is it still sitting
and this is
in Night
also
Singer's
continuity
house?
thing here, because what happens is Zara's killed the Archduke, and Varya shows up and she takes his heart. So he's her first heartless. And then she goes to Zara and she goes, what's your witch's name? And Zara gives it to her, and then she's now her heartless. And she has their hearts in little bags. And for him, it says... I can't remember what it says on him, but hers it says traitor on it. On her bag with her heart.
Lovely.
Like stitched in. I think it says traitor on her heart. And his it says something else. Coward, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. It's in the beginning. But I found this continuity issue of how... I have a few issues with this, honestly. How does she get the heart? Does she mean that after she's taken the heartless, she just turns into a little animal and makes her way to the other witch's place and go like, here, give me the heart, I stole her from you. But that is confusing, because she does have her heart. She takes it out and she holds it in her hand, and she even puts it back into her chest at one point. But
so she got it somehow magically. It ended
it's
up
not
now
explained.
with
It's not explained.
Varya.
But the other thing is, in the first book, when the witches meet, when they have the Witches' High Council where they decide to send Zara to try to steal the prince's hearts, they're all there and they're all talking to each other with their witch names. So what then is stopping them from freaking just stealing their heartless? Is it just like, I know your name, but I'm a good witch, so I'm not going to take your heartless from you. It feels like it's a play a little bit on the fairy people, where if you know someone's true name, you have power over them. Yeah. It feels a little bit like that, because they do talk about true names in this, but the witches seems to be fairly open with their true names. Like we know Varya's true name is the Laughing Daughter, and we know Night Singer's true name because it's Night Singer. We know,
but later in book 2... the prince says, tell me what her real name is. So he doesn't know. Not everyone knows.
No, not everyone knows, but the witches know each other's, at least in the beginning. They talk about it like in book 1.
Okay.
So that was a thing. That was the thing.
So in the first couple chapters that we read before we predicted, we know that Zara now belongs to Varya.
Yeah.
Okay. And Varya is back in the castle, and
Zara's with her.
Zara's with her.
And Ishendria is gone.
And
she's fled.
The prince hates.
And the prince hates her, and Fiona is afraid of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Malachite really hates her.
Really hates her.
More than Lucian, I would say.
Yeah.
So this is my prediction. It starts off good with Varya is nuts. And then I think she will dangle Zara's heart in front of her and Zara will do what she's told. This is my prediction for the book, which I think is going to be pretty accurate. And then I wrote, this premise is dumb, though. Teach a thing that cannot talk to resist an obligation that hurts them. So basically she's asking Zara to teach a Valkyrex, which is the dragon monster, which is apparently the reason why there was a war, why they're underground, why Malachite's breed exists in the first place. It's confusing and I can't remember. But she wants Zara to teach the Valkyrex how to weep.
Right.
To resist the command, because they've been commanded by something to stay underground, where they don't belong. But Zara can no longer weep.
Right.
Because she has a new witch. And she needs to be cut by a White Mercury's sword in order to weep with this new witch. Even though she had it before, she cannot do it anymore. But she needs to teach this thing how to weep.
So what's your prediction? What's going to happen?
My prediction is that Lucian will pretend to hate her.
Yeah.
But in reality, he still loves her. And he will be the one to force Varya to give her heart back. And I predict that this might not happen until book 3. And then I also predict that we will see some kind of team up with Fiona, Malachite, and Lucian again before the end of this book. And that there's no love triangle. I'm predicting no love triangles whatsoever. And just a power-hungry Varya that will most likely need to be killed in book 3. That was my prediction. But book 2 tends to be a travel book. It tends to be, let's move from this point to this point.
Yeah. My prediction for the second book, I was actually lacking inspiration of where are we going to go now? I mean, yes, interesting with Varya coming in, she's not dead, but I didn't love all of the self-deprecating of I'm a monster in the first little bit, so I was like, she needs to like pep her ship back up. She needs to become the fucking princess knight that she looks like in all of the covers and take over the world. So my prediction was that the not dead sister is a psycho witch trying to kill everyone. And that Zara and Malachite and Fiona and some other new friends try to go against Varya, all while Lucian is on his family side because of some obligation, but Lucian turns sides to Zara in the end. And what I didn't have written here that we had talked about a little bit was, in our predictions in the beginning, was that this tree is going to become something of a lifesaver. The make or break of all things. But we don't know too much about the tree just yet. But the tree is going to be a big symbol in this book. Already now we can see that.
Yes. So that's our prediction. We'll see where this goes. And as always, you should obviously read along with us. Or, if you prefer, let us read the book so you don't have to.
Yeah.
And then you can just listen to us summarizing it, and then you can say, oh yeah, I read this book.
Yeah.
Here's what it's all about. Which is great.
So follow along with us. We're reading the second book called Find Me Their Bones.
Find Me Their Bones.
By Sara Wolf.
Yes, and we will post another episode talking all about this book in about a week. So keep your ears posted for updates.
Thanks for listening. I'm Jerrica.
I'm Leah. Thank you. We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica Saron and Leah Sanfer. Theme music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and you can also email us on we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. Bye.